Hello, New Garden students. Welcome back to another teaching video. I hope you're having a great day today. We will be back on Zoom on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. You know the drill. The link is at newgarden.church/chat. So I hope to see you there. We will be talking about all this stuff we're about to talk about right now. So join us on Zoom at 7 o'clock. So it is the end of July, which means summer is coming to a close, and that feels very weird because it hasn't felt truly like summer in the way that we expected it to, right? This was not a summer we expected. It didn't go the way we had planned, and a lot of stuff that we were looking forward to and that had been scheduled didn't get to happen. And because of that, I want to remind us of some good stuff that did happen this summer so that we don't forget it amongst all the stuff that did not get to happen this summer. We kicked off the summer celebrating Campbell and Andrew graduating from high school. We're still really excited for them as they're about to start a new chapter of their lives. We had a pool party at Janice's house. We celebrated Katie and Jose and their baby. We had a mobile food pantry a few weeks ago where some of y'all came and served. I made a lot of bleached tie-dye t-shirts, and now we all have cool bleached tie-dye t-shirts that are NGS shirts too. We had church online on Sunday mornings. We had church in the park on Sunday nights. We had Monday night crew on Monday afternoons. We had game nights and Bible studies on Tuesday nights. The students Zoomed on Wednesday nights, and some of you even came to kids game night on Thursday nights. So we all learned a lot more about Zoom this summer than we had bargained for. Also, because there were a lot of things that did not happen this summer, like camp, Michael designed these awesome stickers. I don't know if it's gonna focus good on it, but it says Not Camp 2020. And you're gonna get a sticker to commemorate this weird summer that had a lot of good stuff in it, but did not have a lot of the stuff we had hoped for. So stick around for more info about getting your Not Camp 2020 sticker. So it has been a weird summer, and I have had youth group filled summers since I started youth group in 2007. Y'all were just tiny things back then. I had just finished 5th grade and I was all in with youth group. And since then, all my summers have been full of things like camps and service projects and Sonic and all the things that we expected to have this summer. And when those things were canceled or didn't happen, it felt really big. It felt very sad and disappointing and huge. And I'd always wondered if I had a more free calendar in the summertime, if it would go by quicker or slower. And I can't imagine another scenario where we would be able to test that other than this summer. And I'm here to tell you it went by faster. So it feels like the summer has flown by. And like just a few weeks ago, we were still at DuPont Tyler, starting to wipe down the tables and all of that stuff when it really started to become real that our lives were gonna start looking different. And I think that there is a part of me that was fearful that if all the things stopped, that God would stop too. That if we didn't have camp, and if we weren't meeting regularly, and we weren't seeing each other face to face, that God would not continue to work in our lives. Then that part of me is probably bigger than I care to admit, and I think it has taken me this long to realize that that is what a lot of the anxiety was at the beginning of all of this, at the beginning of the summer where we realized that it was going to look so different. I was scared that God was not big enough to continue to work in our lives, even in these circumstances. And I remember when I was little, I used to really try to imagine how big God was in my brain. Like, you would hear in Sunday school or something, like, God is so big, or like, God is so big, so strong and so mighty. But you couldn't truly imagine how big God was, but I tried. And I would remember thinking, like, okay, what is something small, like my hand? And what is the biggest hand that I can imagine? And I would be like, okay, maybe that is how big God's hand is. And then I would be like, what's something even smaller on my hand? And I'd be like, okay, maybe my pinky nail. And then I would imagine the biggest pinky nail I could even think up and think maybe that is how big God's pinky nail is, because he's got to hold the whole world, right? Like, he's got to have hands that are big enough to hold the world. And I just kept trying to like zoom out and figure out how big God was. And maybe you can relate to that. I realize now that God may not have pinky nails, and that's okay. But I think somewhere along the way, I forgot to remember that God was big, the bigness of God. I stopped trying to imagine that. And I think because, maybe not exactly because of that, but because of circumstances and hard stuff, I forgot to remember that God was big, and bigger than we think, and bigger than the stuff and problems and craziness in our world. And God is big enough to keep working even when things don't go as planned. Even when we are worried and scared and everything we expected to happen gets canceled, God is big enough to keep working in our lives. So today, we're going to focus on a verse in 1 Peter 5:7, which says, "Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you." And if you have been keeping up with New Garden students on social media, you know that we have had a song of the day every day this week. So Monday, we had the song "Make Room," which talked about laying down our burdens and our crowns and surrendering and making room for God to work. And Tuesday, the song of the day was "Quiet Places" by our friend Jamie Pratt. And she's talking about God meeting us in the quiet places, even when it's hard, and stripping away the lies that we believe and rebuilding our trust in him. And Wednesday's song of the day is called "Bigger Than I Thought," and it's by Passion. And all the songs this week are relating back to 1 Peter 5:7 that says, again, give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. But I want to give you a chance to listen to just a snippet of Wednesday's song of the day, so check this out. So that was "Bigger Than I Thought" by Passion, and go listen to the whole thing after you watch the teaching video, because that was just part of it, and it's a really good song. And those are the pieces I want us to focus on today, where it says, "I will rest in the Father's hands, leave the rest in the Father's hands." And in the chorus, "I throw all my cares before you, my doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought." So these lyrics feel so similar to what Peter is writing in 1 Peter 5:7. And in this chapter, Peter is addressing both young people and old people and saying, this is good for all of you to remember. This is good stuff for everyone to live by. So we need to pay attention to this, because for our whole life, this is going to be helpful and important for us to give our worries and cares to God, because he cares about us. And so I want us to kind of ask ourselves, what are those things for us right now? What are the things that we are carrying, that we are worried about, that we think if this goes wrong, God is not going to be big enough to continue to work in my life? If this happens, God is not big enough to handle that. What is that in your life? And it might be something that in your mind it seems small. It might just be something that doesn't seem like the hugest thing ever, but the truth is, when we continue to carry those worries and those burdens, the longer and longer we do it by ourselves, it gets heavy. And we were not created to carry stuff alone. And we have a God that is big enough to take it. And I think about this water bottle. Y'all know I carry this a lot of places. I have this with me pretty much all the time. And this water bottle is not that heavy, and it's leaking, so it's getting lighter by the second. It's not that heavy, but if I had to hold it out like this all day, like my arm would get really sore. And maybe I could use both arms, but eventually both my arms are gonna get tired. And I'm gonna wanna put it down, and it's gonna annoy me, and it would be so much easier just to set it down on this table. But if I'm saying, like, I need to be the one to carry this, even though it's small and it doesn't seem like that important, I'm gonna get tired, and I'm going to want some relief, right? And when we are carrying around burdens and worries and fears and all this stuff, even if it seems small, if we're doing it alone, it's gonna get heavy. And it's gonna be something that is going to affect us more and more. So I wanna bring us back to the bridge of Bigger Than I Thought that says, I will rest in the Father's hands and leave the rest in the Father's hands. And just like I used to try to picture how big God's hands were, like God is big enough to take what is worrying you. And that does not, I'm not saying that, like, if you pray and say, like, God, I'm worried about this, that the situation is going to resolve, right? It's not a magic trick to get rid of hard stuff in our lives, but it's that God cares so deeply for us that he wants to join us and help us carry the burdens that are happening. So maybe there are things arising in your mind that are worries or fears or just hard stuff in your life that you want to give to God, that you want to leave in the Father's hands, because whether it's small or big, it is getting heavy and you can't carry it by yourself anymore. And don't underestimate the small stuff, especially in the weird times we are in. Sometimes small stuff is the thing that just sends us over the edge. There have been days where I have felt totally bored and totally overwhelmed all at the same time. And so if you feel like there's something small that is really getting to you, that's okay. It's still valid. So we're gonna keep talking about this on Zoom on Wednesday night at 7. I hope that you will join us, and please go listen to Bigger Than I Thought by Passion, and you can use that time to kind of reflect and think about the things that are weighing on you, that are getting heavy, and remember that God is bigger than we think, and that he wants to take those things from us because he cares about us. So I'll see you on Zoom at 7.